Feel it in my bones, even when I move.
As of today, we are 14 days until the start of the 2020 to 2021 NBA season. For teams that went on deep playoff runs in the bubble, this will be the shortest offseason in recent memory. Then there are other teams that did not meet the requirements to enter the NBA bubble, so they haven't played meaningful, organized NBA basketball since March. During this shortened season, the NBA draft and the start of free agency happened within 2 days of each other, and during that span of time, trades were being formally agreed upon and conducted. So it feels like the makeup of teams throughout the league seemingly shifted overnight. Throughout the month of December, I will be previewing every NBA team before the first games on December 22nd, meaning I will be posting every day until the season kicks off. 30 teams in 21 days. The preseason preview series. The next team to preview is the Dallas Mavericks. Last season, the Dallas Mavericks posted a record of 43-32, putting them as the 7th seed in the Western Conference. And in the playoffs, they suffered a first-round elimination to the Los Angeles Clippers. Their top performers were Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, and Tim Hardaway Jr. Apart from that three, the most interesting player on the team is Jalen Brunson. Last year, Luka Doncic put up about 29 points per game, 9 assists, 9 rebounds on about 46% from the field, and 32% from 3 on 8.9 attempts per game. He's a ridiculous offensive talent that can somehow definitely get better offensively because of his three-point efficiency. Luka Doncic shot a lot of threes, so he hit a lot of threes, but his efficiencies kind of suffered, and that's mainly because all of the three-point shots that he takes are a very high degree of difficulty, similar to James Harden. Down the line, I expect Luka Doncic to really develop somewhere near 35-36% from three, which is similar to the James Harden level three-point efficiency, because right now at the moment, James Harden and Luka Doncic take the same type of three-point shots, but Harden is just a better three-point shooter, so he shoots them more efficiently. I think Luka will improve or continue to improve on his three-point shooting and thus get closer to that James Harden level of efficiency from three-point land. But I mean, even without the most efficient three-point shot, Luka Doncic was kind of the best offensive player in the entire league last year, and that's very scary because that was literally his second year in the league. Imagine what he does 3 or 4 years from now when he's entering his prime. Kristaps Porzingis put up about 20 points per game, 9.5 rebounds, 2 blocks per game on about 43% from the field and 35% from 3 on 7 attempts per game. Last season, Kristaps Porzingis struggled early because he was coming off the injury he suffered in New York, where he missed, I think, the half of a season and then the full of another season. So that kind of contributed to his early struggles. And also he was kind of gelling with Luka Doncic. I remember it being a thing that the Mavericks offense was slightly worse while Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis were in the game at the same time. Slightly worse when you just compare it to when they're in the game by themselves. After those early season struggles in October, November, December, and January, he really came into his own after that. In February, Porzingis put up about 25 points per game, 11 rebounds per game on 65.6% true shooting. In March, he put up 23 points per game, 11 rebounds on 51% true shooting. His efficiency kind of tailed off in March. I think that was around when Luka got injured. There was a time when Dallas was playing without Luka. But then in the bubble in August, Porzingis put up about 29 points per game, got 8 rebounds per game on 61.3% true shooting. This time in the season was when Kristaps kind of became a bit more aggressive, and this was the Porzingis we expected to see, not the one just being a glorified stretch big playing off of Luka Doncic. I mean, we still want Kristaps to play off of Luka Doncic because he's a great shooter, but we also want him to be aggressive in terms of getting to the rack and getting his own shot. Tim Hardaway Jr. was the third scoring option for this Dallas Mavericks team. He put up about 16 points per game on 43% from the field and 40% from 3. This is kind of the ideal third scoring option when you're playing with Luka Doncic, somebody who doesn't need the ball in his hands as much, but when he has to, he can create a shot. But somebody who's, I guess, 80% of his time he's playing off of the ball and just shooting threes and coming off of pin downs and curl outs. That's who Tim Hardaway Jr. was this year for the Dallas Mavericks. His future with the Mavericks is a bit in question because he's on a 1-year contract. He's going to be a free agent in 2021, and Dallas Mavericks is one of those teams that have been saving their money and making sure that they're going to have a max salary spot for this free agency class. So if that player is available in free agency and Dallas gets him, then this could probably be Tim Hardaway Jr.'s last year in Dallas. Jalen Brunson put up 8 points per game, got about 3 assists per game, on about 47% from the field and 36% from 3 on 2.1 attempts per game. Outside of Luka and KP, Jalen Brunson is the only young player, like young promising player that could be a part of a young core. But I mean, in saying that, Jalen Brunson isn't really that young because he stayed in college for a little bit in his time at, I think, Villanova. He's 24 years old already after only being in the league 2 years. And he also kind of fell out of the starting lineup and kind of the rotation in general because he got injured during the season. That's kind of why we didn't see him for multiple parts of the regular season and then in that playoff series against the Clippers. And then Luka Doncic really became the full-time point guard last year. In his rookie year, Luka Doncic was like a playmaking shooting guard who still was running time with a point guard out there, and that point guard was Jalen Brunson. But this year, Rick Carlisle said, fuck a point guard, Luka Doncic is our point guard. So that kind of minimized the need to have Brunson out there for a lot of minutes and with minutes with Luka Doncic. This offseason was slightly interesting for Dallas, but all in all, I think it was a good offseason for them. They traded away Seth Curry for Josh Richardson. Seth Curry, one of the best shooters in the league, and his value is magnified when he's playing with a team like Dallas, who is very three-point oriented. But Dallas kind of suffered defensively last season, and Seth Curry can definitely contribute to that. I mean, he hustles on the defensive end, but he's just a liability out there. They're going to need more players like Josh Richardson who can come in and provide a lot of high-level defense on the perimeter for you. So I think this is a good trade, and especially if he can get back to how he was shooting in that last year with Miami, I don't think he'll really hurt the team's three-point efficiency because besides Seth Curry, they still have a lot of shooters around Luka Doncic. Now on the draft, I think the Mavericks really nailed this pick, or these picks. 18th, they took Josh Green. He was a player who I don't really know a lot about. A lot of people are saying he could just be a great high-level athletic 3-and-D wing player who could play shooting guard or small forward, and that's the exact type of player you need around Luka Doncic. Somebody who can just space the floor for you and provide a lot of high-level perimeter defense. If you have two players on the perimeter that can play high-level perimeter defense, you have those two players on the two best scoring options on the opposite team, and you can let Luka Doncic kind of rest on the liability offensively for the other team. If Josh Green can develop into what the scouts are saying about him, this could be a great draft pick for them. And then in the second round, they took Tyrell Terry, who was the first pick of the second round. Tyrell Terry is somebody who fluctuated in the draft from scout to scout, from NBA YouTuber to NBA YouTuber. I didn't really see a consensus of where Tyrell Terry should go in the NBA draft. There are a lot of people who thought Tyrell Terry could be a lottery pick based off of that potential that many people have in him. Getting him at 31 is a great pickup. Tyrell Terry is he's a playmaking sharpshooter. If I'm using NBA 2K terms, he's somebody who could just light it up from three. That was who he was at Stanford, and he can make simple, easy passes running an offense. So still a really good player to get with the first pick in the second round. So great pickup for the Dallas Mavericks there. And then in free agency, Dallas brought back Trey Burke on a 3-year, $10 million contract, who was another reason why Jalen Brunson kind of fell out of the lineup, because the emergence of Trey Burke. He was great in the playoffs for them. They also brought back JJ Barea, the Dallas Mavericks GOAT, besides Dirk Nowitzki, obviously. They brought him back on a 1-year minimum contract. They brought in Wes Awundu. I don't know the details of his contract. I don't really know much about him as a player. And they also brought back Willie Cauley-Stein to be another big man towards the back end of their rotation. Looking at the depth chart for them, at the guard positions they have Luka, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jalen Brunson, and Tyrell Terry. At the forward positions they have Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, and Josh Green. And then at the center positions they have Kristaps Porzingis, Dwight Powell, Willie Cauley-Stein and Boban Marjanovic. The Mavericks have a lot of players who are going to get some minutes and are deserving of getting minutes. Kristaps Porzingis is going into next season recovering from an injury. I think it's the same injury he suffered in the Clippers series. So projecting their lineup for next season, obviously with everybody healthy, it's going to be Luka, Hardaway. I assume Richardson's going to start at small forward. Finney Smith is going to start at power forward, and then center will be Kristaps Porzingis. But I guess while he's injured for the start of the season, I think they'll start Dwight Powell at center, or they might start Maxi Kleber at center. But I think if they started Kleber at center, they'd just be a bit too small. So I think they'll start Powell at center until Porzingis is back healthy. And Powell was a player who showed he was great last season for Dallas, but then he had that bad injury that put him out for the rest of the year. So hopefully he can recover, or hopefully he has recovered and can come back to that level of play that he showed last year. Next season, I'm projecting their record to be about 47-25, putting them at the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. Yeah, I think Dallas is going to be the cream of the crop in the Western Conference. They're going to be in that little inner circle. They have a high-end talent in Luka Doncic, who is a top 10 player in the league this year. You could argue he was top 5 because of all the injuries to superstars around the league. But I think he is a top 10 player going into this season. And Dallas posted one of the best offenses last year. I think with a year of experience and with some defensive help brought in, that can really help this team, and they could be in that inner circle of teams that might be able to push out the Los Angeles Lakers, but we'll see. I do think they'll get eliminated in the second round because they're going to have to play a 2 seed in the second round, and that's probably going to be an LA team or the Denver Nuggets, who are 3 teams that I have above the Mavericks right now. The Dallas Mavericks are definitely contending. Like I said, they have a definitive top 10 player in the league in Luka Doncic, who is still getting better. He's only in his 3rd year in the league, and he's MVP caliber at the moment right away. If you have an MVP caliber player on your team, you're contending, and that's the end of it. This team has a lot of players who are deserving of minutes, so this Mavericks team managed to get deeper, and I think that makes them a bit more dangerous. When looking towards the future, the Mavericks are in one of the best positions in the NBA. They have a young dynamic duo in KP and Luka, and with Luka they have a top 10 player who has the potential to be the very best player in the league one day, and he's on a rookie contract for the next 2 years. This allows the Mavs to have maximum space in the coveted 2021 offseason. What is even more impressive is that while retaining cap space for 2021, the Mavs have built a great team that can definitely compete now. They have a talented supporting cast to complement their young duo. Even with losing Seth Curry via trade, they still have a plethora of shooting for Luka to find, NTHJ, Maxi Kleber, and Dorian Finney-Smith, all returning from last year's team. And in trading away Seth Curry, they brought in much needed defensive help via Josh Richardson. More perimeter defense was added through the draft by way of Josh Green. If Luka picks up where he left off last season, and if KP can recover from his offseason injury and return to his level of play before the hiatus and in the bubble, Dallas will be an offensive juggernaut again, after boasting one of the highest team offensive ratings in NBA history a season ago. The Mavericks have the potential to upset Denver and the LA teams, and can possibly be a dark horse to win the West and maybe even the NBA championship.